much for joining us on today's session. We have Carolyn and Betsaida here with us today to tell us all we need to know about filing our taxes this year. So I'll open the floor to Carolyn and Betsaida. Thank you both for joining us today. If you could quickly introduce yourselves.
Oh, thank you, Adriano, and thank you, Congressman Espaillat, for the opportunity to share IRS information about this year's filing season. My name is Carolyn Singh. I'm a congressional liaison in the IRS Office of Legislative Affairs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Adriano and Congressman, for inviting us. My name is Betsaida Bailey, and I'm the local taxpayer advocate for the Manhattan Tax Office.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much for being here with us today. We have a bunch of questions that folks have asked us throughout the district, so we're happy to get your answers with us today. So I guess we'll get right into it and start with our first question, which is how do folks take into account their child tax credit as well as their stimulus payments that they've received in this past year?
Mhm. I can take a stab at that one. So there are two letters that the IRS started sending earlier this year to help taxpayers reconcile the advanced child tax credit payments that were received last year, as well as to claim the recovery rebate credit for anyone that might have missed or not received all of their third stimulus payment. So the advanced child tax credit letter to look out for is it's titled letter 6419, and that is needed for claiming the full credit on the 2021 return. The any missing or um, any missing or incomplete amount of the economic impact payment, they should look for letter 6475, and that is what's needed in order to claim the 2021 recovery rebate credit. And that's also important for individuals that do not normally file a return. In order to claim the recovery rebate credit, you are required to file a 2021 return.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Betsaida, is there anything else you want to add to that question before we get on to the next one?
We just want to make sure that they have the letters and they know the amounts. If they haven't received the letters and they're able to, they could sign on to irs.gov and create an account. And when they pull up their 2021 account, the amounts will also be on the IRS transcript.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. So we'll head into the second question. This one's a very common one we get in our office a lot, which is how does receiving unemployment impact how I'm going to file my taxes this year?
Receiving unemployment shouldn't impact how you file your taxes. All income is includable in your taxes unless specifically excluded by law. So unemployment income, some people are under the misconception that is not taxable, but it has to be filed. Last year, we had legislation that excluded a certain amount of the unemployment income from taxable income, but this year we don't have any such legislation as of this at this particular time. So it's fully taxable. So they have to fully report the unemployment income, and that gets added on to any other sources of income that the constituents may have.
Wonderful. And Carolyn, do you have anything else to add to that?
No.
Wonderful. Okay, we'll hop into the third question. This one's a little longer, but it's also very important. So, will in person volunteer income tax assistance and tax counseling for folks be open for constituents that have questions about their taxes? And this year, like last year, will there be virtual options available?
Mhm. The short answer is yes. In addition to taxpayer assistance centers, in addition to taxpayer assistance centers, we also have our volunteer income tax sites, low income taxpayer clinics, as well as tax counseling for the elderly programs that have in-person assistance options. And I know Betsy's in Manhattan and can probably speak to some of those specifically.
We have VITA sites all over, and it depends on the constituent's address. They're fully available on the IRS websites. You put in your zip code, and you can find out a lot of churches and local community places provide information. If the constituents are not able to get to the VITA sites, of course, they could call the IRS directly, or when you can't get through to anybody else, that's where the taxpayer advocate service comes into play.
Mhm.
Wonderful. And I guess you both sort of touched on this, but I guess I'll ask it because we have a lot of questions about this as a follow up, which is where can folks watching today find the best place to find out more of where those sites are in their neighborhoods?
It's online, the information, and I will provide you that information also, so they could better find out that information.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. Carolyn?
And one thing I would add too is that even though we have these in-person options, we're really encouraging taxpayers to take advantage of the online resources. We've added callback features to to some of the telephone lines, so even though there might be extended delays, there is that option. And we've also created an IRS app that helps taxpayers check account information, their return status, and things like that. And we also, at some of those sites as well, there's the option to have language assistance there. So if English is not their first language, there are translation services available as well.
Wonderful, incredible. Thank you both so much. That is super helpful. Another question a lot of folks have for us and folks at the IRS is what important documents should we be gathering before we even begin filing our taxes this year?
So before you file your taxes, you should, of course, if claiming dependents, you should have the social security numbers, the birth certificates to make sure that the information is correct. Don't file with your last pay stub. Have all W-2s and 1099s, because we go through an income matching program, and if the information is incorrect, your income will be held up. And as you guys know, as of yesterday, we made 2 years working from home. So in person assistance, as far as the IRS people working in the office, a lot of us are still working remotely. So you want to make sure that your return is as accurate as possible, and that starts with you, so that you wouldn't have any income matching discrepancies that are going to delay the receipt of your refund. So the more accurate your return is, the better chances you have of not having any problems. And of course, we are encouraging electronic filing.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Carolyn?
Yeah, and important things to keep in mind too are income from things like transactions involving cryptocurrency. As Betside had mentioned earlier, um, income is you're required to report your income. So just keep in mind that we also have some tools online. We have a withholding calculator and a number of other tools that can even help taxpayers determine whether they should or whether they are required to file a return. So again, irs.gov is the place to go for more information.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. So, one of the last questions we have that is super important, and I'm sure you both know a lot about, are what are the most important deadlines that folks watching today should keep in mind for this tax season? Then we do have a follow up, but I'll let you guys answer that one first.
April 15th is the filing deadline for filing your taxes, unless you file for an extension. If you file for an extension, it will be October 15th. So those are the dates that you want to keep in mind. As I stated earlier, we have no extensions on dates to file as of now. So you want to keep in mind the filing dates, specifically if you owe money, because after April 15th, if you don't file an extension, you'll be subject to a failure to file and a failure to pay penalty. So you just want to be mindful of that.
Mhm. And those are the statutory dates. And I think for this filing season, it's April 18th, just because of how certain holidays fall. So April 18th is the due date for folks in New York.
Wonderful. And I guess a quick follow up to that question is for folks watching today, what are, if you could give folks a list of a few things that they should absolutely be reminded of that don't forget this tax season, or things that are changing this year that you wish more people knew about, what are they?
Well, this year, for anyone that had childcare, the credit is refundable at a higher amount. So you just want to make sure everything is books and records. You could claim deductions on your tax returns, but you want to make sure that you have the backup documentation for anything you claim on the return in case the return gets picked up for audit. Getting audited does not mean that something is wrong. You may have just triggered IRS filters, and the more documentation you have, the better and faster you'll be able to resolve any problems that you have. So the key is documentation, filing accurately, going to a reputable preparer. If you don't utilize the Vita sites or Free File, make sure that you're going to a reputable preparer, because sometimes we have people in the community that are unscrupulous and they're diverting taxpayers' income taxes, their refunds, to their personal bank account. So you just want to make sure that you're not going to a fly by night company, that if there's any problems later on, you're not able to find these individuals. And that whoever, if you pay someone to do your return, to make sure that they're signing your return.
Wonderful.
If
Carolyn?
you pay someone and they don't sign the return, we call those people ghost preparers. And if something is wrong with your return and you're not able to prove to us that someone else filed it, whatever fraudulent transactions on the account, you might be liable for them.
Incredible. Very important information. Thank you. Carolyn, anything else?
Yeah, what Betsy said is very important, and I think two other things I will mention. If you're waiting on a 2020 tax return to be processed, in order to validate and successfully submit an electronically filed return with to the IRS, taxpayers typically need their adjusted gross income, or AGI, from the most recent tax return. So for anyone waiting on their 2020 tax return to process, you can enter $0 for last year's AGI. And for anyone that used the non-filer tool to register, for example, to get the advanced child tax credit or the third economic impact payment, they should enter $1 as their prior year AGI. And all of that information is available on our website too, but that's really important for taxpayers who have a pending return from the prior year and are wondering whether they should go ahead and file or not, or what they should do. The last thing I'll mention is, if you need assistance, contact your congressional office. You can contact the Taxpayer Advocate Service as well. We're here to help, and my office is a liaison with the Congressman's office. So if you're encountering any issues or hardships, don't hesitate to reach out, because we recognize that this is a challenging filing season, and we want to make our resources available to help in any way that we can.
Incredible. Thank you both so much for taking the time to join us today and help everyone file their taxes this year. As you mentioned, it's been an absolutely difficult and different filing year than those in the past. So I speak for all of us when we say we're very grateful for all your knowledge and insight. So thank you both so much. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Congressman Espaillat's office. We're always happy to help. Thank you so much, Carolyn and Betsaida, for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.